All right, welcome to another session of Authentic Selling Live. Very excited to have our good friend Leslie with us today. Leslie, why don't you give people a little bit of background on yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Always a treat to collab with you, Colin. So thanks for the invite. I am the founder of Sales Team Builder, and I am B2B outbound obsessed. So what I do is help folks with the skill sets, the processes, the copy, to make sure that they are outbounding in a way that does not scare their buyers off, and maybe even better, really resonates with them. Just trying to make outbound fun.
I can't help but want to comment on that a bit. Not scare their buyers away. So, are you maybe hinting to the fact that a lot of outbound today scares buyers away?
I would say so, Colin. Right before we went on, I was actually going through my LinkedIn inbox, and it was a combination of messages that were either like, it looks like your website's terrible, or I'm like,
Mm,
oh, wow, I really love my website, but thanks for making me feel bad about it. Delete. Or like 7 paragraphs,
yeah.
like not even gonna read it, delete. Or the ones that are just like, um, I see that you are the founder at Sales Team Builder. Would you like to? And then it's a bunch of language, half of which, like, I don't even know what they're trying to communicate. I don't even know all the fancy terms they're trying
Yeah.
to use. And it's a problem that I absolutely don't have, which, if they would have done one iota of research, they would know that I don't have 100 employees. They would know I'm not a tech company. So yeah, I think folks make it really easy to delete their emails without even giving them like the consideration of replying.
Yeah. I mean, so we're definitely going to talk about some of the things that are not working. And then we're going to actually pull up a screen share and we've got a few emails that we're going to rewrite. And then we're going to
Right.
take it a step further. So we're going to make those emails that are not so great good. And then we're actually going to give you a flavor of what it looks like to actually make a good email personalized to the personality of the person that you're sending it to. But just to kind of comment on some of the things that you shared, Leslie. I mean, I'm just curious, like when did it get okay to send a maximum character email in the LinkedIn DMs?
I think it's always been that way. I think it's very, very rooted in those like historical seller centric mindsets and methodologies, right? Where
Yeah.
the best way to write an email was to start by saying like, "Hi, I'm Leslie Venetz, your account executive at blah 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 company. Company does blah blah blah. Feature done blah blah blah." Like that
Yeah.
that is the way that emails have been written. And so I think folks have taken that model, and in an effort to add more value, they've added more words and fancier words and more features. And what they're failing to realize is that it makes the email less approachable. Not like I genuinely think that folks that are sending those types of messages, they feel like they are making it value packed. They're giving their prospect everything they could possibly need to make a decision in the email. Like they're coming at it from a place of attempting to provide as much context in a single message as possible. What they don't realize is that most people aren't even reading emails, they're scanning them and then they're deciding to delete, save for later, or do. And that their emails are going immediately into the delete pile because they're just too difficult to digest.
Yeah, and then I mean, one of the problems that a lot of that I come across and see, obviously, because we have these conversations with people where how their outbound campaigns are performing, what channels they're using, and we get to look at a lot of that copy and such. And a lot of times, let's say you're talking for maybe a larger sales organization, that copy is typically written by somebody in marketing. a lot of times. And it's also written, in a way that they would respond to if they were on the other side of the email, which is a big problem, right? Because it's not taking into consideration the person that it's sending to. And sometimes it's written in marketing speak. Sometimes it ends up being exactly what you said, a big feature dump and trying to explain as much as possible. Nothing against marketing folks, but that's what can happen. Or maybe there's somebody, the SDR or BDR leader, who's writing all of the copy, right? And then it's typically written in that person's communication style, which is not going to be a good fit for everybody.
Yeah. And it's often written by the folks who spend the least amount of time on the phone with the people that have the jobs to be done. So even if they are exceptional copywriters, they simply don't have the exposure to the prospects, the customers at the volume that BDR, SDR, AE, CSM has. That also made me think of something really interesting. I'm just putting two and two together. This is pre-humantic, pre-personality insights. But when I was early in my career, my territory was all of the US and some of Canada. And I would dramatically change my tone, both on the phone and email, by region. So it wasn't by the specific person, but the way that I was in oil and gas. And so I spent a lot of time calling the Deep South. To like the way that I would communicate, I would slow my speech down, much more conversational, spending a lot more time building rapport. And then when I would pivot to the Northeast, a lot less time building rapport, much faster speech, much more to the point. And even those pivoting to take into account those small regional differences that were kind of trend lines and personality, that was a huge factor in my early success.
Yeah. I too had a similar experience, right? If I was calling, I worked all of, US and different states and such in my first job, and I was making a lot of cold calls, and depending on where I was calling, I would slightly adjust the script, be more direct, be more fast paced, or really slow it down and stuff like that. So, and I love that you brought up the phone, because the phone just doesn't get enough credit these days. And from a lot of sales leaders that I've been talking with, they're starting to see a huge transition where like their teams are starting to book more meetings, or they're outperforming other channels over the phone. So just wanted to call that out. And then the second thing, just to kind of piggyback off of what you mentioned, the people writing this copy aren't the ones having the conversations, right? And so that's another key thing to call out too, is having the conversations, using the phone, picking up, if you're testing a new market, new segment, new industry, the phone can be the fastest way to learning what is going to work on these other channels.
Yeah, the phone and shadowing your CSM's calls. Just not enough time is spent listening to the conversations with customers who are telling you why they have bought and renewed, and what challenges you're solving for them or opportunities you're helping them seize. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to pull up some emails. We're going to make them better.
Okay.
And then we're going to write some different personality variations. So let me share my screen.
I haven't seen any of these emails, so I'm excited. This is going to be like on TikTok when they do blind reactions.
Yeah. I have seen them briefly, so we're flying in blind. All right, let's see here. It's always fun to share on StreamYard. Okay, so I may have to make it bigger because let's see here. Can you see it okay?
Or not really? No. Oh, it's a little bit better. Okay, there we go. I was like, am I just gonna have to get like oddly close to my camera? Everybody can really just get a view of my forehead.
All right. So Here we go. Let's start with, so we're going to rewrite this. Let's start with the subject line,
Okay.
which is, it's a fabulous one, isn't it? That's a joke.
I'm not even sure if it's a statement or a question. Or like, are they telling me? Ready to buy now. And then they like the transformer comes out. I don't like.
All right, so let's give it a new. Let's see the context. See, that's part of the problem. A lot of times these subject lines, don't even go in line with context of the email. But
I just don't. I have no idea what this email is about after reading the entire thing. It's a their prospecting tool, I guess.
It's a data software, right? So I work for a company, and our platform is able to find every potential customer in your space that is ready to buy. Okay, so that's where they're going with this ready to buy now subject line, right? Is based on saying, but it sounds super spammy as a subject line. Like, I don't even think anybody would read that, because they're assuming that you're telling them, hey, are you ready to buy now from me?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's give it a new subject line.
I mean, I would just try something like new customer. I've been going pretty hard on the two word or less than 20 character rule for subject lines, both words capitalized, which I didn't even have to tell you because you're awesome. But that definitely increases open rates.
Even having this capitalized and these like not capitalized, just it doesn't look right. Okay, so right away the email is about them, like immediately.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to.
Yeah. One of the things I really have been trying to do when I offer rewrites is not reinvent the wheel, because I think often when the like gurus, I don't know if people can still see me, but I'm using air quotes, do rewrites, they like do this like complex best ever, and it makes it hard to action because that's like a lot. So what I've been really trying to do is take what the folks already have and make smaller pivots, like things I genuinely think they could still use, like their voice. So maybe we start with a question, like start with getting curious. Like, why don't we ask them if they would even find it helpful to identify potential customers that are ready to buy? Is it just a prospecting tool, or is it a prospecting tool with a buyer intent feature? Do you know?
I think it's with a buyer. I mean, assuming based on how it's written here, there's a buyer intent component to it. So would you benefit from knowing which of your prospects are in market for? I would put whatever they're.
Make that's definitely an opportunity.
Whatever their solution is, right?
Yeah.
Question mark. Okay. Next line.
I would go with explaining like why, like I think that this email assumes that the person receiving it understands the value of buyer intent data. That's not been my experience. I think buyer intent's still kind of a leading tech. So maybe one sentence on why it matters, why they should even care about that. Hear you jump.
I would probably
in the background.
So I would probably put. How do you feel?
Joining us live, like feel free to drop your ideas in the chat.
Yeah, questions, ideas, drop them. All right, so subject line: new customer or new customers.
Customers, yeah.
Yeah. Would you benefit from knowing which of your prospects are in market for, and then I would put whatever it is that they do there, And then second line, we have found that customers I would maybe name drop there, using buyer intent data.
Love a bit of social proof.
And then I would put some sort of fact in here, like buying intent data, create, whatever we're just kind of like making it up here.
Sales cycles or like something. There's some sort of value prop
shorten sales cycles by X.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we've kind of work for a company. I mean, so we've kind of rewritten this here. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about this free credits piece? I mean,
I
get what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm assuming that this is like an email 1 or 2. So I wouldn't put the word free in simply because it's a spam trigger. So you're then toying with, compromising your deliverability. So like simply for that reason, I wouldn't do it, but also something like 50 free credits before you've established like I don't care if they're 50 free credits if I don't know what I would do with the 50 free credits.
Yeah.
I would maybe.
So I think we skip this and just come up with a better CTA here.
Yeah, I mean, for initial emails out of the gates, I love a CTA light. So those CTAs like, is it worth learning more?
I'm assuming they're sending this to probably a sales leader, right? Would you be interested to see how I would probably put like their title here?
Yeah.
All right. So let's assume that let's assume that they sell, I don't know. All right. So we're going to write this to Hammerpreet.
Okay.
And so we're going to say, would you be favorable knowing what your prospects market for? I don't know. We'll just put AI software. We'll put AI sales tools, something like that.
Yeah,
right?
There we go. Little bit.
Have you found that customers like? I don't know. We'll just name drop. Give me a good name drop logo that would maybe catch somebody's attention. The problem with
on this one.
The problem with, and I like that you did that, because the problem with a lot of name dropping is people don't use it properly, right? They'll drop name that's nothing similar to who they're writing to. And so, if you're emailing maybe growth stage startup and you're, name dropping some enterprise logos because those are the coolest ones that you have and you want to tell everybody about those, they can't relate with that. They're not, maybe they want to be like that company one day, but it's not the right name drop to use when you use name drops.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've even found that like having spent most of my career selling to the enterprise, like Fortune 250, Fortune 500, that name dropping like, Walmart and AT&T, even to a company that's Fortune 100, doesn't resonate, because they're like, great, we make $30 billion. They make $300 billion. Like, we are not the same. So similar in industry, and I think similar revenue is.
And if you're targeting like a new segment where you maybe don't have names to drop, then don't.
Yeah.
All right. I feel good about this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you this email written to different variations of personality. Okay. So we're going to take this email and
while you're plugging that in, I see we have a question from Michael.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Michael said, when making emails for prospects, do you think utilizing sequences are helpful, or do they make prospects feel like this is just a process? I have a very strong opinion on this, and they are 1000% helpful for a couple of reasons. One, it takes some of the burden off of you to write like the one email. Like one email is never going to be what like fundamentally fills your pipeline or like changes how how your prospecting looks. So I use sequencing as a way to tell a story over a series of emails. So I think it just kind of changes the burden of feeling like you have to get everything into one email. Like to Colin and I's earlier conversation about those LinkedIn messages that are 17 paragraphs, like that one 17 paragraph message could be broken into enough emails to be the entire sequence. So I think that's part of it. And also the data, depending who you ask, the data shows that it takes somewhere between 6 and 12 touch points to get the reply. So like to an extent, we do kind of have to play the numbers. But it sounds like, Michael, maybe more of your question is like, how do you use sequences without making prospects feel like they're just in a sequence? So let us know if that's kind of what your deeper question is. What would you add, Colin?
Yeah, I think everything you said is great. I'd add one thing, right, to kind of put a bow on it, right? How do you make prospects not feel like they're in a sequence? Manual steps. I think largely for a long time, people were playing like fully automated sequences, and some people are still operating off that playbook. But integrate manual steps. That could be a social touch. That could be an email it could be a cold call. It could be email that's, not templated at all. Like, fully personalized. Maybe you have a baseline. Your follow-ups, it could be a video touch. Video touch is a great way. Like personalized video shows like, hey, you're not just in a sequence. Like I actually took time to see what it is that you do. I sincerely feel that I can help you and want to know if it's worth us, having a conversation. So video touch, manual steps, those are all great ways to make your prospect feel like, hey, I didn't just click go on a sequence with you because you have some segment point that looks like our ICP.
Yep. Yeah. Love that. And maybe very adjacent to that is optimize, like index on value and relevance in your sequences. So one of the easiest ways people can tell that they're just in a generic outreach sequence is if the copy isn't valuable or relevant to them. And I'm not suggesting that you have to hyper personalize every single step, but do make sure that you are breaking your territory down into smaller lists that have enough layers of segmentation that you're pretty darn confident that that specific set of messaging, even if it's mostly automated, is going to resonate with them.
Yeah. Yep. We have another question from Lewis, so we might as well address that too. Do you have any advice for writing about quite technical solutions? Example, a code toolkit, prospecting to product and engineer teams.
Yes, I do. Don't write about the technical solution, write about the problem that it solves. I think this is a really important question, Lewis. So thanks for throwing this out there.
And this is applicable to even non-technical products.
So
right?
True.
Because I think people are very comfortable writing about them, their product, their solution, their awards, all of the stuff that they think people care about. But surprise, surprise, they don't care about that. They want to know how you can solve X or how you can help them with whatever that challenge is that they have, right? And so, and a lot of people also write their emails or even make their cold calls rather, assuming that people have those challenges. Like they just assume that, hey, you're persona X, so you have this problem. And that's not the case.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, my like outreach methodology is earn the right. So it's like, how are you earning the right to their time and to their attention? And that is making it about them. Like, why does it matter to them? How will it impact them? And like using a bunch of technical language or talking about this like super nuanced technical solution, that's not going to resonate, because they don't really care about your product. They care about how your product is going to impact them. So I use a framework called FABs, features, advantages, benefits. So go beyond the features and even go beyond the advantages. Like, we have a self-serve model. Self-serve models make it easier. What's the benefit of that? By using a easy, self-serve model, you save 20% time to repurpose into strategic tasks. Like, really spell it out for them. And I love what you said, Colin, about like the assumption that everybody in X ICP has the same problem, and it might hold people back from getting curious, which is a perfect segue into this email, because we started by getting curious. Like, is this even something that matters to you?
Yeah. All right. So this, so we're going to run this through one-click personalization. We're going to click a button in 10 seconds or less. It's going to write it for the personality of the person we're sending it to. The email, honestly, is already sort of written for a D type, but let's see what happens. And then we're going to run it
because
through
we're both D types.
But
And then
see,
am I reading this right, Colin? That Amarpreet is D commander. That's his.
Yeah. So this version, frankly, may not change a ton, but we should see some pretty big changes when we go into a few other types.
Can
which
you
we should
scroll
have time
up
for.
so I can see above the ocean, so I can see his disc?
Yeah. So let's see here. I've got my screen large and it's throwing me off.
No worries. Oh, I see what was happening. I'm messing everything up.
Okay.
Can you see it? Can you just tell me what it says?
About him specifically?
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah. So let's do that. I think that would be helpful. But something got messy here when I made my screen large. So let's start over here and let's look at his personality. So Amarpreet's a captain.
Okay.
So he's a DS type. And
what are you?
This is SD. So we're in that compatibility zone, very
and I'm
similar.
in DSC, so we're all in the zone of compatibility there.
And so it tells us, when writing an email, to the point, informal, subject line should be 1 to 3 words, no salutation, greeting, no. So skip any like pleasantry first lines, bullet points you could use, but not necessarily recommended. Closing line, you should formally state your ask. Complimentary close, nothing there. Tone of words should be confident with a formal touch. And the overall messaging should be focused on output, and the length of the mail should be between 100 to 120 words. And that's recommended based on his personality, right?
Okay.
So we're going to go here, and I think new customers as the subject line, and we should be able to paste our email there and click personalize, and let's see what it gives us.
Yeah, I feel like we cheated a little bit, because we are so compatible with his personality that we sort of wrote it how we would write to ourselves, which is, I think something interesting that we were talking about offline is using personality insights almost as a way to disqualify folks that are going to be not as easy for you to naturally sell to, so that instead you can prioritize selling to folks that are in your zone of compatibility. And if we, talk about how to be most effective, most productive, I think that's great advice. So what did it change here?
Yeah. So here's the new version. So here's the version that we wrote right here.
Yeah.
So it did not change the subject line, did not change, the salutation here, just straight first name. But it did sort of change the way it framed it up here. So would you like to reduce sales cycles by 13% as experienced by customers such as Reggie? Our buyer intent data can help you identify prospects in market for AI sales tools. Would you be interested to see how founders use buyer intent data? So it didn't change the CTA. It did reframe this bit.
I like that.
I do actually like it a little bit better.
Yeah, I do.
but it largely didn't change like the context. It just kind of reframed it differently.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see what happens when we take that same message. And what we can do here. So this is the original. Would you like? So let's take the original message that we wrote, same subject line, and let's go back over here. And you'll see that there's like I don't know if you can see this. I don't think you can see this on your end. There's 36 different. There's 36 different variations of personality, but we don't need to personalize to every type. Everybody gets bucketed into a group, right? So that was a D type message. Let's write it to an I type. Okay, so we're going to put the same subject line. We're going to put the original message back in here. Fix some of my little grammar errors. Okay.
I wouldn't be able to write. I wouldn't be able to communicate without Grammarly. So
yeah.
People would just be like, is this lady okay? And the answer would be no. I love Grammarly.
Okay, so very different email, same subject line, different saluation.
Oh my God.
Opens up with like
this email. It makes me cringe to even read it.
I know. I
would lose. I wouldn't be able to hit send.
The interesting thing is we've seen on the high end people who segment and personalize their messages by personality type. On the high end, we've seen as high as a 256% increase on response rates. The lowest I've seen is 50%, right? So people that are thinking about, oh my gosh, I'd never send that message. Well, what would you do to get a 50% lift on your response rates?
I mean, I'm doing it. I'm doing it with this next batch of outbound. That's how I'm segmenting, is not by trigger, but by personality, value and relevance first, and then personality insight second. So I'm going to do it. I'm a full commit, but my gosh, do I find that message cringy.
Yeah. So when you're writing a message, and the thing to think about, right, is when you're writing a message to somebody that's outside of that compatibility zone, right? Perfect example is, right, we wrote that message, then we wrote it, through one click, and it was very much already pretty much written to his, we could have sent either one of those versions, really.
Yeah.
It would have been fine. Largely not a lot changed. One click is going to change about 20% of the message without losing context, just to rewrite it in the communication style of who you're sending it to. So if we take this and we write it to an S type, let's see what we get.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can you see the screen? Okay. It's a little bit small.
I can see, yeah, it's a bit small, but I can see it.
Okay. So the interesting thing is let's go put it on here. All right. So this here is the OG version, right?
I'm still stuck on your LinkedIn screen. Oh, there we go.
This is the D type version, right? Now we've got, let's get a little bit more space here. See if we can fit the S type email on here. Now, most people never say hello, right? Like, hello, Amapreet. Most people do not say that.
No.
And they largely wouldn't. But with S types, it is the best way to open your email.
What's your default? Like, if you could only use one intro forever for every email, what do you go with?
Just first name. Name.
I go with hi.
But I could be a little biased.
Now that you've seen,
I think a lot of people's default. So this is for an S type.
Yeah.
Very, very different email, right? A little bit longer salutation. So
it's not that different. Like, the bones are still the same. Do me a favor. Will you put in that very first email that was not good? Will you put that in to S type? I want to see what that looks like.
All right. So
because that is a slightly longer email, but it's also like kind of informal. And I don't
Let's
feel
just
like
put,
S types like the informality bit.
so let's say here, I work for data company. Our platform is able to find every potential customer in your space that's ready to buy and give you their contact info. So when you get, okay, so there we go.
Also, I'll mention one more thing because we didn't mention it the first time, but for folks that are listening, I also would remove book a demo with a hyperlink in email one, because that link is going to mess with your deliverability as well, including a link when your domains have never spoken is never a good choice on email one.
All right, so here's the original email. And what personality type do you want to write this for?
I think the same one, S.
All right, so we're going to write this for an S, which, hey, with exclamation mark.
Is not going to work. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they
would think that's way too informal.
What they, like Humantic's a person. I'm excited to see what they tell me.
Dear.
Yeah.
I hope you're having a
way
wonderful
more
day.
formal.
Our data company provides a platform that enables you to identify potential customers in your area who are ready to purchase along with. So here's the interesting thing is, I mean, the email that we were working with, let's put this on the Google Doc, was not a great email. So not only did Humantics one click write it to the personality, in this case, for an S type, it did generally make it better. It's still not great. But that's for an S type based on the original not so great email.
Flip back over to, did you put it in the Google Doc?
Yeah.
Flip back over to your Google Doc.
So this is for S type based on the original email they were working with.
It's definitely a better email than the first one, even though
I still don't love it.
No, I do not love it.
But if I had, if I had to choose between sending this versus this, I would definitely send this one. All right. Well, we pretty much only had time to.
That was interesting, though. That was a good
email.
I mean, I guess I'm biased, but I thought it was interesting and cool.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
I'll have to come back after I do my campaign. So it's, let's see here, it's 130 contacts, and I think it was like 82 accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to report back and share some of my findings with folks, because I'm learning I'm learning live. I'm learning as I go with this new tech too, but I'm excited enough by it, and I believe enough in it that I'm willing to test it with an entire segment of my top leads. So let's go.
Yeah, come back. Let us know how the experiment went. When we can even maybe like break down some things without sharing your too much of your secret sauce.
Yeah, I'm my secret sauce, and I'm one of a kind. So
yeah, so they can try to steal your secret sauce.
Yeah, good luck.
Leslie, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Any final thoughts? And then where's the best place for folks to follow you?
Always a pleasure to collab with you. So certainly look forward to doing it again. And thanks to everybody who took time out of their day to chat with us, to drop questions. Best place to find me is here on LinkedIn. Ring that bell, hit the follow button, send an invite to connect, or on TikTok at Sales Tips Talk. And very exciting, I just launched a YouTube channel. So now I'm on YouTube at B2B Sales Coach. It's going well. I launched it like a month ago, and I already have over 10,000 views and like 25 subscribers. So
nice.
Video. I just keep leaning into video, and it keeps working for me.
Yeah. YouTube is an animal. So it sounds
our
like you're
short,
off to a
one
good
of our
start.
shorts is actually my top performing short. One of our conversations on just sell me this pen. So
coincidentally enough, one of your videos on my YouTube channel is one of my best performing videos as well.
Oh,
so
dream team, Colin.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, everybody who joined us today. Appreciate you and appreciate the questions and all that good stuff. Make sure you follow Leslie. And if you want to try Humantic out yourself, just go over to our website. You can download a free trial.